Welcome back, MTG Joe here. Today we got our first dump of MTGO Magic the Gathering online standard league data. So these are kind of like mini tournaments, 5 rounds, and they post all the 5-0 deck lists. So this is the first time we're going to see cards from the new Ixalan set. I'm going to preface by saying this is the first one. Usually takes a little bit of time for stuff to come in, but overall Ixalan did not have a huge impression on these first set of data. We're going to take a look at some of the decks that are being featured and kind of go over the cards. I'll be back with the untapped data starting this week with standard best of 1, best of 3, historic, explorer, alchemy once we get it as well. So those will be more individual ladder data that you can kind of track to see where the metas are kind of shaping up. So definitely subscribe if you enjoy keeping up with the latest and greatest in terms of Magic the Gathering. For the qualifier weekend, which is historic best of 3, I just dropped a video this morning that covers some deck options that you could consider for the event as well. So we're going to jump in. This is from November 16th. And the first deck 5-0 from MTGO is Golgari Midrange. Interesting to see that Tough Cookie is seeing some play in this list. This lets you animate non-artifact creatures into 4/4s. Itself is a cookie, so kind of brings 2 bodies around, gives you some life gain against the more aggressive decks. Also seeing a single copy of Sentinel of the Lost Lore, which is a card that doesn't see too much play in this. This will allow you to get back your extra copies of Mosswood Dread Knight if needed, as well as Virtue of Persistence, or kind of get out from under your opponent's adventure cards. I think this also exiles graveyards. Yeah, so just incidental graveyard hate, but pretty stock Trespassers. No Lord Skitter in this version, which is interesting to see them kind of move off that in favor of a little bit different card choices in slot. Sideboard, Arenas, Bayloss, stuff like that. We're seeing an actual copy of Ashioxy play in the sideboard, card that's largely not been played in the format thus far, but like your Nissas, Rankle Pranks. Rankle Pranks actually a pretty nice answer against the ramp decks because they usually aren't putting out too many threats early, and it could potentially pick off an Atraxa and stuff like that while also dealing incidental damage late game. Next deck, Mono Red, and there is no innovation here. So this is pretty much stock. We are seeing the 4 Frenzies main. So I'll take that back. There's some variation from time to time. The 4 Witch Stalkers, 2 Nahiri's Warcrafting, really kind of a testament to more of a Shieldred style meta, needing bigger damage as opposed to cheaper kind of removal spells. You have your Godric's, Charming Scoundrels, 1 Feldon. Feldon's not as good in best of 3 as it is in best of 1. No Phoenix Chick in this. No, we still have Swift Sphere. But you still have your Bloodthirsty, and you're just kind of keeping it pretty tight with the burn spells and the removal. 2 Sokuzens, 3 Mishra's Foundry, kind of stock in terms of mana base. A couple copies of Koth in the sideboard, full 4 Fitness Punishers, the extra Nahiri's Warcrafting, Urbrass Forge card I really like out of the side. Then we go to the blue-white kind of flash, kind of soldier deck. Again, this deck's pretty much stock from the one that won Worlds. This is card for card pretty much what we have there, so nothing really too innovative here. Same deck that we've had for the past season. The big thing that you're going to see a bit, and if this kind of follows true to Ixalan the first set, tribal or typal decks that they're calling them now are usually synergy based decks. They need to come together, so things like merfolks, vampires, they get better as more cards come into play, but your individual cards tend to be a little weaker, all things considered. They're like some of their parts are bigger than the individual card quality. Pair that with like Ramp being one of the most popular decks that has access to 4 Sunfall, really hurts these types of strategies looking to kind of build to the board. So hopefully we do see some innovation, stuff like that. But I feel like we'll probably see it more in Eternal formats. Like I know some folks have been doing well with Merfolks in Pioneer Explorer as an example. But we'll continue on. So this one's a cool one. So this is a Gruel list. And it's using like Yavimaya, Monastery Swiftspear, Cacophony Scamp, Picnic Ruiner, Questing Druid, and then just it's kind of a throw bunch power. We got Giant Growths in here, Monstrous Rage, Ancestral Anger, Audacity, Mirren Banesplitter, gotta read this one. Enters battlefield, attached to target creature, gets +2/0 flash. So kind of another combat trick that can be recycled, and it's just kind kind of like a Sly red style deck. Cheap 1/2 drop creatures, get them big, give them trample, try to kill your opponent very quickly. So kind of a mono red style, but with green cards that add some additional oomph, and then like with the Questing Druid for card advantage. Sideboard just gives you some Urbrass Forges, some more removal, Royal Treatment as protection. So if they're bringing in heavy sweepers removal, you bring in the Forges as kind of an alternative attack. Then just another of the kind of tempo soldiers flash deck. Just going to skip over that. This one's kind of a cool one too. So it is a take on Rakdos Breach. So we had these variations of the deck in the past, but we see kind of your ramp package, Celestis, Iron Crag, Big Score, as well as Decadent Dragon as another card that can give you treasures, get some play. This card has largely seen no play thus far, but interesting to see come in. But you're trying to go to Tali or Breach the Multiverse as your top end, double up the Breach with Chandra, burn down the house as a sweeper along with Brotherhood's End. So we're seeing a lot of these low to the ground aggro decks trying to compete with the ramp decks. 6 sweepers main, a lot of different ways to interact. And this would be interesting as well, because hitting Breach off like the ramp deck, just being able to cast their tracks or their big spells similar with the Tali, could be a way like with these mid-range decks to kind of approach both the aggressive matchups and the more ramp, because generally speaking, the Golgari deck does have a bit of a trouble against the Atraxa deck because it goes over the top. They have to heavily rely on discard spells to kind of get them from there, but this one, casting your opponent's spells, feels pretty sweet. This one here, you'll see Terra Sunder in it. There's a lot of ways to make treasures as well as Zeotora's Proving Ground in the mana base, so just ways to cast Terra Sunder if needed, give you access to enchantment and artifact hate. Mostly enchantment. Rakdos isn't really known for their ability to destroy artifact or enchantments, and then just a smattering of creatures and removal spells. We have a ramp deck, which is kind of the only thing we're seeing. Split of Invasion of Zendikar with 2 Depopulate main, likely a tell to the more aggressive meta that's taking place. Sideboard, Jace is for the mirror, otherwise it's pretty stock. We have mono blue tempo. The big thing with the mono blue decks is they've shifted to Picklock Bankster in the main as well, coming off like that 5/5. So Chrome Host, Haughty Djinn, and Pitlock kind of mixed into there. Other than that, nothing too crazy with that. This one's a cool one. So 5/0, black-white kind of tokens, aristocrat style. So we got Makotai Soul Ripper, a vehicle that lets you sack stuff, put counters on it. Luminarch Veteran for life gain, Extraction Specialist to rebuy stuff, Ilya Sakor life gain when it comes in, and then your Blood Artist effect coming out. Crawling Chorus, 2 bodies, Vran as another style of Blood Artist effect. Rune Lurker Bat, when evasive creature gains you some life, and when it dies you get to scry if you descended. So kind of turns on itself, but any other creatures lets you scry as well. Sanguine Evangelist, Battle Cry, so gives all your other cheaper creatures additional power when you attack, and then when it enters the battlefield or dies, you get to create a bat, so just making some tokens. Amalia, when you gain life, you get to explore, and then if its power is 20 or more. So the 20 power is not as relevant in this format. In Pioneer and Explore with Wild Growth Walker, it's an infinite combo if you gain a life, to the point where you get it to 20 power and then it wipes the board. You also have Bartolomeo. This is, I guess, because of the weird text here. The accents are seeming like it's breaking it, but this is the 2-mana sack outlet vampire that gets counters. So just another way. Rite of Oblivion as removal and Annihilating Glare. Your Wedding Announcements, Scrub Hive. So you can kind of shift to grindier. So this one's actually really interesting. If you like those aristocrat decks, Blood Artist, Drain and Gain, kind of not beat them down by 20 points damage in a turn, but a life loss here, life loss there. We have another Golgari deck. This one's kind of more true to the original, so with the Lord Skitters, Blossoming Tortoise, stuff of that nature. And that's pretty much it. The only other deck I wanted to show you wasn't on MTGO decks. I found this on Twitter. So this is a list that went 15-1 in best of 3. And it is like a blue-white aggro pirates tempo style deck. So the big card that they were talking about was the Subterranean Schooner. So 2 mana, 3/4 crew. When it attacks target creature that crewed it, explores this turn. So some card advantage, put counters. Really cheap to crew, 3-4 bodies, super reasonable. Dodge is Sunfall. You have like the Spyglass Siren, makes you map tokens, and gives you a flying attacker. The Warden of the Inner Sky can tap down the map tokens to get bigger and eventually become a Vigilant Flyer. Denix, Destroy Evil, some counter effects. Wedding Announcement, the Kitesail Larcenist can basically nullify one of your opponent's creatures, turn them into treasures. Emperor's Virtues kind of mixed into there as well. And then just a smattering of removal spells, kind of disruption with the counters as well. So I'll link this one as well. This one seems really cool. I want to give this one a shot as well. Sorry, my dog's still recovering from her leg injury and her meds are wearing off and she's getting a little antsy. So I'm going to take her for a walk. Hope you enjoy. And let me know if you're playing anything cool that's working out. Thanks for watching.